right. Yud Aleph. If one robs a proselyte and swears to him and he dies, he pays the principal and a fifth to the Kohanim, and a gift guilt to the altar. And he said, but but the man has no known husband to whom he returned. The restitutions for the guilt, which was returned to Hashem, goes to the Kohen. Besides, the ram of the atonement with which he shall atone for him. If he was bringing up the money in the guilt offering and he died, the money shall be given to the sons, and the guilt offering shall be grazed until it develops a blemish, and then it is sold, and the money is placed in the donative offering chest. If he gave the money to the Kohanim of the watch and he died, the heirs cannot exact from them. But as it is said, a man who gives to the Kohen, it shall be his. If he gives the money to Yehorev and the guilt offering to Yedaya, he has fulfilled his obligation. He gives the guilt offering to Yehorev and the money to Yahweh, and the guilt offering exists. The sons of Yedaya shall offer it. If not, he must bring another guilt offering. For one who brings what he stole before he brings his guilt offering has fulfilled his obligation, but one who builds his guilt offering before he brings what he has stolen has not fulfilled his obligation. He gave the principal, did not give the fifth, and the fifth does not prevent atonement. If one stole something and gave it to his children to eat or left it to them, they are exempt from paying. But if there is something which can have a lien on it, they're obligated to pay. We shall not change money from the customs collector box or from the tax collector's purse. Nor may we accept charity for them. One may, however, accept from his house or from the street.
Okay, so this, by the way, just to be clear, is a tax collector who is operating as a on a sort of a wildcat basis. He got authority from the king or whatever to go and collect however much tax he wanted and pass it on to the king. So the king will get a share and he'll get a share, but he's not doing it according to any sort of organized tax rate or fair tax rate. Because if the king says, listen, we're putting a 20% tax on everyone, then that's dinner dinner, and you're religiously obligated to pay it. But this over here, this is talking about somebody who is effectively stealing from people, and therefore we don't want to have any any dealings with his stuff. Everything that he's got in his chest is considered possibly stolen. So the story continues with this guy, is that Natnu mochsin es chamoro, v'nasnu lo chamor acher. So this bandit of a tax collector came to a guy and said, "We're collecting your donkey as taxes." And whatever, he puts on a good sub story and somehow manages to get a bit of compassion from the guy and say, "Look, we've got another little donkey over here. It's not as good as your one. I collected it from the previous guy. Here, take the little donkey." So now the guy says, "Thanks very much." But now he has to go back and ask a shayla from his rav and say, "Listen, this donkey came from the tax collector. It's probably stolen." And the Mishnah says, "No, it's okay." Why? Similarly, in the case of Gazlu Listim is kasus of kasus acheres, that they took his fancy clothing and gave him some other clothing in its place. Hare elu shelo. Now he's allowed to keep them. Why? Because whoever he took them from before has already had Yush. Once it's had Yush, then he has effectively taken possession of it. The thief owned it from Yush. Now that's not to say that he isn't chayav to return the value if he ever does teshuvah. But the third party now, the guy who receives it, doesn't have to worry that this is stolen property now. Okay, Yush, he has abandoned hope. Okay, hamatzil minan nahar. What happens if somebody goes and rescues an object from a river, or minagais, or he rescues it from an oncoming army, or minalistim, or he rescues it from bandits? If the owners had already given up hope of getting that thing back, that's effectively an avader without an owner. So therefore, as soon as he grabs it, it is his. Now, what about bees? Interesting fact about bees is that Minotaur, you cannot own a bee because bees fly away. But Rabbanan said, look, there are people who are beekeepers, and we don't want people just to come into their property and steal their bees. So Rabbanan said that if the bees have collected in your property, if they're in a hive on your property, then they're considered yours, even though they can fly away. Okay, so now this swarm of bees over here, im nisyashu habalim, if they actually did fly away and Baalim have given up on them, okay, then whoever they flew to takes ownership of them. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Baroka, nemenes isha ukatan lomar hamikan yatsa nechil zeh. And if there's a question of ownership, like let's say the bees flew from his property to somewhere else, and the owner did not give up on them, and he wants to now claim that, "Yeah, I want to go into this guy's property and bring back the bees." I'm not sure what their equipment was in those days. Maybe they had some thick clothes, or maybe they had some. I don't know how they made a net to keep the bees out, or what the beekeepers wear today. Um, but nonetheless, here's our case. The guy wants to claim his bees, and the witness he's got is a woman. And Chazal said, well, since this whole thing is a din drabanan anyway, because midoraisa there's no claim. We are the ones who said that you can own bees, and therefore we're also saying that a woman or a child is believed when they say that the bees came from here. And now what happens is the bees fly from his field to the next field. So he's got his beekeeping equipment, and he wants to go back and what you do. The Mishnah doesn't seem to say anything about the queen, but the obvious thing to do is, if you've got the protective equipment, you go and grab the queen and come back to your hive and put the queen back in, and the rest of the bees follow. I don't see anything in the Mishnah that says that they understood that, but basically they're thinking that you're just going to grab all the bees and trying to put them back. Okay, so says the Mishnah, he's allowed to enter his friend's field without permission. Latzil is nechila, in order to grab the bees. And because this is a time sensitive thing, you don't know when the bees are going to fly away again, so he can't go and find his friend and say, "Listen, can I come in and get my bees?" They say he's allowed to go in. V'im hizik mishalem mashi hizik, and if he causes damage while he's walking, then he is chayav to pay for what he's paying to what he's doing. But normally, we don't give a guy a heter to damage almanas to pay for the damage
Right.
while he's walking through the field. So let's say there's a crop that he's walking through, and he's going to damage some of the wheat while he's walking to grab the bees. Aval lo yakot is socho al menas leiten esadamim. But let's say they've all gathered on a branch. So what a clever idea! Cut off the branch, take the branch back to we're talking about from a fruit tree or something. And that's cool. He's going to pay the value of whatever what that branch was with the fruit on it to the owner. No, says the Tanakama, you can't do that. Rabbi Yishmael ben Osher, Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka Omer, Af ko tzeitz v'nosen es adamim. No, even that he's allowed to do. But the halacha is like the Tanakama, that you're not allowed to do permanent damage, even almanas leshalem. So he's not allowed to cause damage to his friend's property. That's more of a damage than just walking through the crops. It's on the tree. That's the explanation. Difference between the two. Walking through to get there is different from cutting off a branch to get your bees. Mishnah Gimel Hamakir Kelav Usfara Biad Acher. So a guy was burgled, and then he's walking around town and he sees, oh my gosh, that's my jacket. That's my leather jacket that you're wearing over there. I recognize it. It's got, look, it's got my initials, sewn into the corner. He can come with simanim on the thing and say that's my jacket. Shame Geneva Ba'ir. And this is after he has reported the burglary to the police, and everyone knows, oh my gosh, Reuben got burgled. And then he comes and sees that Shimon is wearing his leather jacket. Yishava lo halokech kamanasan. So now Shimon said, listen, I had nothing to do with the burglary. I just, came to the shuk, and there was a guy selling leather jackets, and I bought this leather jacket. I didn't see any siman. I didn't see that siman of your name on there. I just bought it. So how much did you pay? I paid 100 shekels for it. Okay. So now Reuven can say, look, here's your 100 shekels. I want the jacket back. And he can force that in Beis Din. Okay, Vito. The Imlav, however, if Reuven had not reported the theft to the police and he had never been complaining about any sort of a burglary, and now he comes and says, no, no, that jacket was stolen from me. Look, they're mine. Even if he can prove that's my jacket, those are my initials on there. Look, menu. Sorry, you don't have any rights on this. Why? Shani omer mecharan la'acher lekachan ze himenu. Because Shimon can come and claim, I'm sorry, maybe you just were tight on money at some time and you sold your jacket. So if you sold your jacket, that's your problem, and now you want it back. You come into money, and now you want your favorite jacket back. I'm sorry, I bought it fair and square, and you can't have it. So the difference is, did he complain about the burglary or did he not? If he did complain beforehand, then it's a fair claim. If he didn't, then we're concerned that he just fell into hard times and sold it, and now he wants to get it back. Okay. Daled. Zeh ba b'chaviso shel yain v'zeh ba b'chado shel dvash. So two guys are walking, one with a barrel of wine and one with a barrel of honey. Now, by volume, honey is much more expensive than wine, even today. Like you can buy a little jar of honey like this, and a kilo of honey will cost you like 50 shekels. Whereas a big bottle of wine, you can get wine for 25, 30 shekels. Um, I also found it a very interesting thing reading the the Three Musketeers. You read that?
No, I never read that.
No, I never read it, but it's set in like old France, um,
Right.
and these guys are like penniless. They're always complaining about how they can't afford anything, but at every meal they're quaffing wine like it's going out of fashion. So like wine is like water to these guys. So now it's nowadays that wine has become more expensive. Um, and you can pay like 100 shekels or more for a bottle of wine.
Not
Um,
me.
yeah, I know. I wouldn't. Okay, but anyway, but the premise of this Mishnah is that wine is cheaper than honey. And what happens is the guy with the wine, with the guy with the honey, um, said, "Oh my gosh, I've got a leak in my barrel. All the honey's leaking out, or it's broken, or whatever." And the guy with the wine said, "Let me help you." He quickly pours out his wine and says, "Here, let's get the honey into there." Ein lo ela scharo. Now, if the guy with the honey says, "Look, thank you very much, but I'll pay you for your time and effort in saving this, but I don't want to pay for that wine." And the guy with the wine said, "But I just saved your honey. I prevented you from getting a bigger loss." And the guy with the honey says, "Too bad. Well, Bastin can't do anything about it." Lesson is, what must he do? Im amar atilis shalach ve'ata noseni demei sheli chayav litain lo. Says, listen, he must make a condition beforehand. Say, I will pour out my wine and to save your honey as long as you pay me for my wine. He says, yeah, 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 just do it. Okay, now he can claim the value of his wine that he lost. Okay. Similarly, Shataf nar chamor v'chamor chavero. There was a flood, and his donkey and his friend's donkey both got washed away in the flood. And he's a strong swimmer, and he said, and his own donkey was only worth 100, and his friend's was worth 200. So he left his own donkey. But he went and saved his friend's donkey. Ein lo ela scharo. All he can claim is his life saving dues as a lifesaver paid for his time and effort, not for his donkey. Unless im amar lo ani atzil es shelach v'ata nosen li es sheli chayav litain lo. Says, if you pay me for my 100 shekels, then I'll save your donkey instead. And then he can claim it. So the lesson learned is it's good to save somebody else's property, but you can't expect them to pay for your own property that you're missing. Shalcha kodmin. Your own stuff takes precedence, and if you want to be compensated for it, then you have to ask for it. All right, we can
Okay.
probably do one of maybe two rounds of Chazara. Let's go.
Vav Dalet, Zion Dalet. If according to two witnesses one stole, and according to one witness is to by his own confession he is slaughtered or sold, he pays the twofold payment, but does not pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. If one stolen or slaughtered on the Sabbath, sold and slaughtered for idolatry, stole from his father, and his father died, and afterwards he slaughtered or sold, um, stole and consecrated, and afterwards slaughtered and sold, he pays the twofold payment, but he does not pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. When Shimon says for consecrated animals for which there is responsible, he pays the fourfold or the fivefold payment, and for those which is not responsible, he is exempt. If he sold it except for 1/100th of it, or if he had joint ownership in it, if he slaughtered it and became disqualified, if he passed his nachos or tore out the throat organs, he pays the twofold payment, but does not pay the four or fivefold payment. If one stole in the owner's premises and slaughtered and sold outside the premises, or if he stole outside the premises and slaughtered and sold within their premises, or if he sold and slaughtered outside the premises, he pays the four or fivefold payment. But if he stole and slaughtered or sold on their premises, he is exempt. It was taken out by dragging. It was taken out was dragging and excuse me. If he was taken out by dragging and it died in the premises of the owner, he is exempt. If he lifted it or took it out of the house premises and it died, he's liable. If he gave it for redemption of his firstborn son to his creditor, to an unpaid guardian, to a borrower or a paid guardian, or to a renter, and he was dragging it and it died in the premises of the owner, he is exempt. If he lifted it and took part of it and took it out of the owner's premises and it died, he is liable.
Okay, let's go.
We have to go over here to
Okay,
condition.
Kedushin, Aleph Daled.
Aleph Dalet. Okay. A large animal is acquired by Masira, and a small one by being lifted. These are the words of Reb Meir and Reb Eliezer. The sages have say that a small animal is acquired by Mishkika. Possessions which can have a lien on them are required with money, with a document, or with active possession, and those which cannot have a lien on them are acquired only with Mishkika. Possessions which cannot have a lien on them are acquired together with possessions which can have a lien on them with money and a document or with a back of possession. And possessions which cannot have a lien on them cause one to swear concerning possessions which can have a lien on them. Anything which is used as payment for another object, once they possession, this one becomes liable for its exchange. How? If one exchanges an ox for a cow or a donkey for an ox, once this takes possession, that one becomes liable for its exchange. Possession by the temple treasury is with money, and possession by a private person is with active possession, and its oral dedication to the temple is like its delivery to a private person.
Okay, I'm gonna have to leave and get to Shul. A good
Okay.
Chodesh and a good Shabbos.
Good, good, good. Thank you. Be well.